The sky wasn't supposed to be that color. That's what I remember thinking as I stood in the street, looking up. Fire doesn't burn red from that distance. It burns orange, yellow, white. But the sky over Dresden that night was red, deep, blood red. Like someone had painted the heavens with death itself. My name is Anna Schneider, and I'm the only survivor from my building during the Dresden bombings of February 1945. But calling myself a survivor feels wrong. Because what I saw that night, what I lived through, it killed something inside me that never came back. I was 16 years old. Just a girl, really. Living with my parents, my grandmother, and my 2 younger brothers in an apartment on Pragerstrasse. Dresden was supposed to be safe. That's what everyone said. The beautiful city. The Florence of the Elbe. Full of refugees fleeing the Eastern Front. Full of hospitals and wounded soldiers. Full of art and culture. Not a military target. Not worth bombing. We believed that. We had to believe something. February 13th, 1945, Shrove Tuesday. The carnival was supposed to happen that week, but it had been canceled because of the war. Still, there was a feeling in the air. Spring was coming. The war would end soon. Everyone could feel it. Germany was losing. The Russians were close. The Americans and British were pushing from the west. Just a few more months and it would all be over. We just had to survive a few more months. I'd spent the day helping my mother prepare dinner. Potatoes, mostly. That's what we ate. Potatoes and whatever bread we could get with our rations. My brothers were playing in the apartment, making too much noise. My father was at work at the rail yard. My grandmother sat by the window, knitting like she did every day. Normal. Everything was so painfully normal. The first sirens came at 10 o'clock. We'd heard them before, false alarms mostly. Dresden didn't get bombed. That's what we told ourselves as we gathered our things and headed to the cellar. Our building had a reinforced basement. Nothing special, just thick walls and a heavy door. But it felt safe. Dozens of us crowded in there. Neighbors I'd known my whole life. Frau Muller with her baby, the Goldstein family, though they weren't supposed to be there anymore. Jews were supposed to be gone, but the Mullers had hidden them. We all pretended not to know. The first wave hit at 10:15. The sound was unlike anything I can describe. Not just loud, it was beyond loud. It was a physical force. The building shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. The single light bulb swung wildly on its cord. Children were crying. My mother held my brothers. My grandmother prayed. And I just sat there, frozen, listening to the world end above us. The bombing lasted 20 minutes. 20 minutes that felt like hours. Then silence. Sudden, absolute silence that was somehow worse than the noise. We waited. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. We just sat in that basement, breathing dust, listening to our own heartbeats. Then someone said we should check the damage, see if the building was safe. My father wasn't home yet. I volunteered to go up, to look for him. My mother said no, but I went anyway. 16 years old and stupid. Thought I was being brave. Thought I was helping. I opened the cellar door and stepped into hell. The stairwell was gone. Just gone. Our building had been hit. The upper floors collapsed. I could see the night sky through the wreckage. But it wasn't the normal night sky. It was glowing. Pulsing. Red. Everything was red. The light, the smoke, the air itself. And it was hot. So hot. Like opening an oven door, but the oven was the entire world. I climbed through the rubble to street level. Or what used to be street level. Pragerstrasse was unrecognizable. Every building was damaged or destroyed. Fires burned everywhere. And people. People were everywhere. Running, screaming, searching for family members. The injured lying in the street. The dead lying beside them. I started looking for my father. Started asking people if they'd seen him. Started walking toward the rail yard. That's when the sirens came again. The second wave. Someone grabbed me, pulled me toward a public shelter. I fought them, screamed that I needed to find my father, But they dragged me inside anyway, pushed me downstairs into a massive basement packed with hundreds of people. The second wave was worse. Much worse. The bombs fell for 40 minutes. The shelter shook continuously. Cracks appeared in the walls. Water pipes burst, flooding the floor. The lights went out, and we were in darkness except for a few candles and flashlights. People were praying in German, in Czech, in languages I didn't recognize. Refugees from everywhere, all trapped together, all waiting to die. But we didn't die. Not in the bombing. The shelter held. When the all clear finally sounded, we emerged into something that wasn't a city anymore. It was an ocean of fire. Every direction, as far as I could see, everything was burning. The heat was incredible. People's clothes were smoking just from the ambient temperature. The air was hard to breathe, thick with smoke and ash and chemicals. And the sky. The sky was completely red, not from the sunset, from the fire. So much fire that it colored the entire sky. It was beautiful in a horrible way. Apocalyptic. Biblical. Like the end of the world had come, and we were the last people left to witness it. I tried to get back to my building, tried to find my family. But the fires were too intense. The streets were blocked by rubble and flames. I was pushed along with crowds of people fleeing toward the Elbe River. Thousands of us, streaming toward water, toward safety, toward anything that wasn't fire. The firestorm started around midnight. That's what they called it later. A firestorm. When so many fires burn so hot that they create their own weather system, their own wind. The air was being sucked toward the fires, creating hurricane-force winds that fed the flames and made them burn hotter. People were being pulled off their feet, pulled toward the fire. I saw a woman lose her grip on her child, saw the child tumble through the air toward the flames, heard her screaming, couldn't help, could barely help myself. I made it to the river, jumped in with hundreds of others. The water was cold, but the air above it was scorching. We had to keep ducking under to avoid the heat, stay under as long as we could, then surface to breathe superheated air that burned our lungs. Over and over, for hours, while Dresden burned. I don't know when I blacked out, from exhaustion, from smoke inhalation, from shock, but I woke up on the riverbank in the morning. Someone had pulled me out. I was alive, wet and frozen and coughing up black soot, but alive. I stumbled back toward where my building had been. It took me 2 hours to walk what should have been 15 minutes. The city was unrecognizable. Entire neighborhoods just gone, reduced to smoking rubble, bodies everywhere, burned beyond recognition, piled in the streets, floating in the water, thousands of bodies, tens of thousands. My building was completely destroyed, just a pile of rubble with smoke still rising from it. I started digging, started pulling away bricks and concrete with my bare hands, started screaming for my family, for anyone. I found them 3 hours later, in the cellar. They'd been trapped when the building collapsed. The cellar door was blocked. They'd suffocated, all of them. My mother, my grandmother, my 2 brothers, Frau Muller and her baby, the Goldsteins, all the neighbors who'd sheltered there. Dead, not burned, not crushed, just suffocated when the fire consumed all the oxygen. They looked peaceful, like they were sleeping. That somehow made it worse. They'd died together in the dark, slowly running out of air, knowing what was happening, unable to stop it. I never found my father. His rail yard was obliterated. No bodies were recovered from that area. Everything had burned too hot, too complete. He just ceased to exist, along with 25,000 others, maybe more. They're still not sure how many died that night. Too many to count, too many to identify. Just mass graves and best guesses. I was sent to a displacement camp, processed as an orphan, given papers that said I was Anna Schneider, age 16, sole survivor of Prager Strasse 47. They asked me questions. Did I have other family? No. Did I have anywhere to go? No. Did I need medical attention? I said no. What could doctors do for this? How do you treat someone who watched their entire world burn? I spent 3 months in that camp. Empty, hollow, going through motions because stopping meant dying, and some part of me wasn't ready to die even though the rest of me already had. Other survivors were there too. We didn't talk about it, didn't share our stories. We just existed in the same space, all of us broken in the same way, all of us carrying the same images we couldn't escape. The war ended in May. Germany surrendered. Everyone celebrated. Victory in Europe. The nightmare was over. Except it wasn't. Not for us. Not for the people who'd lived through that night. The nightmare just changed form, became memories instead of reality. But the memories were just as vivid, just as burning, just as red. I was placed with a distant aunt in Hamburg. She was kind, tried to help. But how do you help someone who's seen what I saw? How do you bring someone back from that? I went through the motions, went to school, got a job eventually, got married because that's what you did, had children because that's what was expected, built a normal life on top of the ruins of the old one. But I never forgot, never stopped seeing that red sky, never stopped hearing those screams, never stopped feeling the heat of those fires. It's been 80 years now. I'm 96 years old. Most of my generation is gone. Most of the people who remember are dead. Soon I'll be gone too. And who will remember then? Who will tell the story of that night when the sky turned red and a city died? My children know pieces of it. My grandchildren know even less. They can't really understand. They weren't there. They didn't see. They didn't feel the heat or smell the smoke or watch people burn. And I'm glad they didn't. I wouldn't wish that knowledge on anyone. But someone needs to remember. Someone needs to tell the truth about what war really costs. Dresden was beautiful once. Before that night. Before the red sky. Before 25,000 people died in 12 hours of bombing. It's been rebuilt. It's beautiful again. The Frauenkirche, destroyed in the bombing, was reconstructed, stands now as a symbol of reconciliation, of peace, of moving forward. But I can't reconcile with that night. Can't find peace with what I saw. Can't move forward, because part of me is still there, still 16 years old, still watching my city burn, still searching for my family in the rubble, still seeing that impossible red sky. People debate whether Dresden should have been bombed, whether it was a legitimate military target or a war crime, whether 25,000 deaths were justified or excessive. I don't engage in those debates. I can't. Because for me, it's not abstract. It's not history. It's the smell of my mother's hair as I found her body. It's my brother's toy still clutched in his hand. It's Frau Müller's baby who never even got a chance at life. It's real. It's personal. It's permanent. War is not glorious. It's not noble. It's not about valor and heroism. It's about 16-year-old girls watching their families suffocate. It's about cities burning so hot they create their own weather. It's about skies turning red with fire and never quite returning to normal. At least not in your memory. I saw the sky turn red over Dresden. Saw a city die. Saw tens of thousands die with it. And I survived. But survival and living are different things. I survived. But I stopped living that night in 1945. Everything after has just been aftermath. Just been carrying the weight of that red sky through decades of trying to forget, but never quite managing. That's what happened to the only survivor from my building during the Dresden bombings. I saw the sky turn red. I saw hell manifested on Earth. I saw what humans are capable of doing to each other when war removes our humanity. And I've spent 80 years trying to make sense of something that has no sense, trying to find meaning in something meaningless, trying to honor the dead by staying alive. I'm telling you this because someone needs to know. Someone needs to remember when I'm gone. War is not abstract. War is not statistics. War is the sky turning red. War is finding your family dead in a basement. War is being 16 years old and losing everything in one night. War is carrying that night with you forever, through every day that follows, through every moment of the life you build on top of the ruins. Remember Dresden. Remember what happened. Remember the red sky. Remember the 25,000 who died. Remember so it never happens again. That's all I can ask. That's all any of us can ask, remember.